I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Hey everyone, are you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? Welcome back to the episode of Radical Christianity, the talk show that highlights God in action. I am Drew, your host, and it is excellent to have you here today. Well, folks, if that pun didn't give it away, here's some breaking news. It is officially the season of Lent. You know, the time of year filled with plenty of fasting that starts with a volcano's favorite time of year, Ash Wednesday, and it finishes up on Good Friday. It's meant to emulate the time spent when Jesus was 40 days without food and possibly even water while in the wilderness. It is a time of denying the flesh in favor of spiritual upgrades, if you will. Not sure what fish fillet sandwiches on Friday have to do with that? Well, hey, who doesn't love a good loophole and a good fish fry? You know, maybe it's because the priest who tried to give up meat for Lent. Poor guy couldn't do it cold turkey. Maybe he should try lentils. Hey, I know a guy who thought about giving up negativity, but he changed his mind, said it was a bad idea. I guess you could say he Rick-rolled himself. You know that Rick Ashley song? Question: what do you call someone who gets hangry during Lent? Fasting and furious. Hey, if you want to get out of doing as much work as possible at your office job, consider giving up spreadsheets for Lent. Your boss won't mind at all. You can tell him it is an Excel Lent idea. In observance of Lent, some churches host special church services during the evening. I hear they're calling it Silent Night. Did you hear about the church who rescheduled their Lent service? Yeah, you could say they re-Lented. Okay, one last one for you. Why couldn't the nun find her rosary? Well, because she lent it out. Okay, that's it for now. So tell me, are you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a regular returning. Yes, we have Rob Carter, the one and only, coming back today. So let's have a huge warm welcome for Rob Carter. Woo-hoo!
How you doing?
Have a seat. Thank you. Here you go, some coffee for you, sir.
No,
Wow. So back to Radical Christianity.
great to be back. It's radical, man. This is awesome.
You know, we try to give God our best on this show. You know what I mean? We get into some deep discussions, we hit some points, we try to promote some important things. And obviously when you come on, we're usually talking about a movie or something like that that's coming out, or, you know, and like right now the Chosen season 5 is coming, and then I noticed that The Last Supper is the name of the trailer. Is that the name of the movie as well? The Last Supper?
Coming out, yeah. We'll talk about a few things that are coming up.
There's also a Last Supper movie coming out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm confused. Are they both called Last Supper?
The Last Supper is the episode 1
Okay.
of the Chosen this season 6 or 5. And then there's a separate movie called The Last Supper.
Right, which is a little confusing.
Yep, it was for me too.
Yeah. So yeah, we had the opportunity to interview cast members from The Chosen, which
Yeah, that was great.
So that was pretty cool. It'd been nicer to have longer interviews and dive in, you know what I mean? But you know, it's still enough to where we get a good feel of where everybody's heart's at and what's going forward.
Short Thanks and Reza Diaco, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when we push for things here, obviously you've probably at least caught a little wind. You've been on the show enough times to that we try to promote faith-based media.
Very much appreciated and very, very important. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's our ministry is faith-based media. You know what I mean? So of course we're going to support other media as well. You know, so let's really make sure that the Christian body understands the importance of supporting faith-based media, and not just on streaming services. You know what I mean? Like actually going out physically to the theater. You know what I mean? Or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Jaron Ministries International, It stands for Jesus Ambassadors Reaching Out for Nations. So I'm a missions nut guy. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to media, years before that in, lay youth ministry, I loved using movies and media, kids making videos and stuff for tools back in the 60s, 70s. Me in the 60s, 70s. But I have fond memories after becoming a missionary of being in the jungle somewhere, hanging up a sheet and showing the Jesus film. Now, if you look up the Jesus film, it's not going to be listed with all the commercial movies, but it's by far the most watched, most translated piece of media in the world, in history, So I have that fond history, memories of seeing tribal people see and hear about the name of Jesus for the first time in their lives, on some island or someplace in Africa. And that's before I knew that we would be getting involved in supporting Faith Film Store Ministry, because we were primarily a ministry, equipping leaders for more effective service. And so the way I see it, how it fits for me, for our ministry, is that when we're equipping leaders, whether it be in the church or community, nonprofits, about the knowledge of a piece of media that's coming up that has a meaningful message, we're using that to fight against all the evil that's in media today. So I did quite a bit of study on the history of the Nazi regime. Hitler was a master at using media to push his propaganda for that time in history, and made movies, invested a lot in movies, and that was their propaganda machine, is media. Media is powerful, and I was thinking early this morning, got up early, and I was recalling that when I first came to Fresno and got involved with Jaron Ministries, the internet was new, became kind of a household thing around 2000, and that was on the heels of email. I remember being in the tribe, the Audap tribe on the island of West New Britain, and the missionaries there talking about how email is the best thing since sliced bread, because they could communicate and send media. That was just before the turn of the millennium. And here we are 25 years later, and I get this thing. Yeah. I'm so dependent, and access to all kinds of movies, podcasts, everything. There's so much noise now coming at us.
Do you remember the days that when you were a kid and your parents would just say, go out and play, don't come back till dark? And
oh yeah,
there'd be no contacting you. If there was an emergency, you weren't reachable.
I had a little transistor radio, got AM, FM radio. That was it. That was the height of technology when I was a kid. But in 1985, the most powerful internet system was NORAD, our defense system.
Right.
Where this thing I'm holding in my hands is far more powerful than all of NORAD in 1988. So technology has moved so fast, and it's been a culture shift and change. And the reality is, because our founder and president is an expert, global expert on purity, moral purity, and did his thesis originally on why leaders fall morally.
Right.
I'm the first generation of grandparents in the history of mankind where my grandkids have devices in their hands all the time. That didn't become a reality for me, until 2010 or whatever.
You think about how many kids are now hitting their 20s, where the internet was a thing. When they first, obviously when they were in their 20s, they didn't start texting when they were babies, but by the time they were 5 or 6, we're talking that was 2010.
Yeah.
There was a push to get devices into their hands.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
So we use social media as a tool.
Yeah.
We use email, we use internet, and all those things are at our fingertips. And the evil one knows that, and he's using it against us, and he's using it against our kids. And frankly, we all have an addiction level to one point or another, because we're dependent on these things now to do ministry or do work or do life.
Right. Because no matter who you are, you're still a fast food fixed person. There's a reason why fast food is so popular. It's easy, it's now, it's immediate. Those of us who are busy, we're always looking for ways to stack more on our plate, and obviously when we have tools that make things more convenient. Now that obviously with most things in the universe, there's balance.
Right.
There's good and bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
And the problem is there's far less good than there is bad, So that's why we've been an advocate of movies with meaningful messages.
Right.
Because so much of our youth are going and they're seeing stuff on the big screen or the little screen that is not healthy for any way, for mentally, emotionally, physically, and especially spiritually.
Yeah, well,
so it's a distraction from truth. And now white is called black and black is called white. So yeah, we need media that tells the truth.
Well, and just recently, I mean, like in the last 5 years, you know what I mean, or maybe even a little bit longer, we've finally got like good quality media. I mean, we would, with the gospel message. You know what I mean? I mean, there's always been, like back when we had the faith films in the '60s, you had The Robe and you had Ben-Hur.
Yeah, well, they're commercial productions, yeah.
They were commercial productions, and they were epic. They were huge.
The Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
Exodus,
exactly. The greatest story ever told. You know what I mean? They were epic, and they were people would put their butts in the seats. But then after that period ended, there was like virtually no quality. Virtually. I mean, there was like the one miniseries, Jesus of Nazareth. I mean, but for the most part, there was virtually no high quality, well produced productions. And the interesting part is that now we're starting to see them again. Which kind of opens the door, to say, hey, look, it can happen. Because I mean, the longest time it's like, oh, it's a Christian movie. It's going to be unbearable to watch. You know what I mean? It's like, even the ones that had good messages and stuff like that were still. It was like a train wreck to watch. You know what I mean? And it was just it worked against the community as a whole.
Not anymore.
Well, not anymore. But we still have the biggest hurdle, which is how do we get? I mean. How do you get from making these, because now we have like a lot of the family friendly movies, you know what I mean, where you don't need the superstar budget to produce them, because you need a location, you need actors, you need a script and some cameras and a crew.
And the big studios are taking notice. They're seeing that tickets are being purchased behind them with their money.
Right.
That's exciting. Universal got behind the movie Breakthrough that we brought here. Before they sold to Disney, and then they didn't want to have anything do with family-friendly faith films, Disney. So that's a travesty, But Sony partnered up with the Kendricks brothers, with their films, which Courageous and all the good films that they provided.
And those are some.
And then Lionsgate with Kingdom Story, which brought us a lot of great movies. Right now in the theaters, you can go see. Unbreakable Boy, excuse me. Great movie.
I'm actually excited to see that one. I have not seen it yet because it didn't come to a premiere to Fresno.
They decided with after this last year was a lot of content that they did not put the marketing budget behind it. So we didn't bring a red carpet premiere to Fresno.
Right.
We brought others, which has been exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, the red carpet premieres to Fresno, I think, is doing a lot for the community as well.
Well, it's been a God thing because it came at us, and we said, yes, okay, we'll do this, we'll support this. And then watching the stories that are being told, wow, that's powerful for anti-human trafficking, or that's powerful for prayer like War Room. So there's a movie that, grossed $50 million, $54 million, I think it was. So Hollywood's taking notice and saying, hey, yeah, there is a faction of America that wants wholesome family movies up on the big screen and streaming.
They need to do more marketing too, because The Forge was an excellent movie, not just by Christian standards or whatever. It was a fantastic movie, and the very first one I've seen that wasn't an actual Jesus film. You know what I mean, like about Jesus, about historical Christian. That had a strong gospel message, clear, strong gospel message, and it was still a movie that you could watch on a Saturday afternoon on cable, or you know what I mean, have the family go to, or you know what I mean. It's,
So The Forge, a little infomercial right now. Pastor Jim Franklin, Cornerstone Church, who meets at the historic Wilson Theater, opened in 1916, I think it was. has a nefarious history. You know, the first show was a vaudeville show about a transvestite, and the frescoes on the ceilings were a lot of nudity. You know, painted over when the church acquired it, but when it comes to media, the U.S. has had some dark periods in 20s, early mid 30s was a dark period. They were really pushing the envelope with nudity and whatnot in films, but a lot of the public resisted it. The history of VHS is because pornography, was marketing through VHS tapes, and that was spread wide then.
That's why Beta died.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned, after the big epic commercial faith films, which weren't, I don't think, intended to be faith films. They were just biblical stories.
Historical, that had an audience because of the
big
era.
Budgets, Ben-Hur.
And it was also a faith movie.
There was a season where it got cheesy. Yeah. But now God has raised up some filmmakers who are just dedicated to quality. Kendrick's brothers. We had Alex Kendricks here for, The Forge.
Right.
Rollout, red carpet. And back to Jim Franklin, The Forge, we're bringing back now, the Cornerstone Church is doing Sunday Night at the Movies, a free event, the last Sunday of every month, or the fourth Sunday of every month, and we're bringing back The Forge this month.
Nice.
So, hello Valley, bring your family out to see The Forge at Cornerstone Church on 6 p.m. on Sunday night.
In what used to be the historical Wilson Theater? In
the historic Wilson Theater. Popcorn and sodas and whatnot go to help support the youth outreach in the city here.
And it's a great movie.
It's a great movie, excellent movie. Cameron and I met, and Cameron was here with Karen Abercrombie from War Room, and they shot a movie here in Fresno this last year. So we'll keep you posted when that's going to be coming out.
Nice.
But it's just been quite a ride, and I say thank you to the Valley for supporting. Fresno Clovis has a national reputation of support of faith films, but we can do so much better.
Way better.
Way better, because it's hard to think outside of the box. The idea of doing church at a theater, and doing group buyouts, but we've seen some phenomenal things. Entire football teams come out for the Woodlawn movie, red carpet. Caleb Castile, Alabama All-American pro football player turned actor, plays in that movie, and his ministry to the football teams here in the Valley was amazing.
Yeah.
And quite an impact on our youth. So there's some really good history now since 2010 when we first brought Courageous out, for the Central Valley Police Week.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the faith-based movies hitting the mark where it could in the area is that not enough people are talking about it, especially not enough pastors with their churches.
I've done a lot of research, my friend, Barna surveys, and I can tell you where Christians are spending their entertainment dollars, and where we're spending our time. And when you talk about time, talent, and treasure, and where we invest it, our challenge is when you have a neighbor that's hurting, or a coworker, or a classmate, they don't go to church, but you have something to offer them of encouragement, but they won't come to your Easter service or your Christmas service. They'll come to a movie.
Yeah.
A good movie, and you can take them, invest in that, instead of camping out, streaming something, at home by yourself. Use those films, media, those entertainment tools to do outreach to your neighbors, your family, classmates, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what we call equipping leaders with the knowledge of these films. So every movie has, I look for the demographic. Well, this movie would really minister to police officers or to first responders or human trafficking, ministries or whatever. The Forge is men. It was all about, men and discipling men. It could be a youth thing, a sports movie. But we've got some great ones coming up. King of Kings is an animated story. Excellent. I've seen them, and I always watch them before I get to start to promote them, just so I can answer people. But hopefully you'll do some cutaways on this this show, and show off the trailers or whatever you can do. But we've got a list of good movies coming up this season, some right now. Like I said, Unbreakable Boys is still in theaters right now, but Last Supper. But we were blessed, as you were there, with our actors who played the Apostle John and Apostle Philip at the Cornerstone, Wilson Theater for the red carpet premiere of Season 5, Episode 1 of The Chosen. And the week before, we had, Dallas Jenkins came out and spoke for the Fresno Clovis Prayer Breakfast. We had a press junket for The Chosen.
And a couple weeks before that was
What an honor
Tabish.
to be the first sneak peek event in the country for The Chosen Season 5.
Right.
And The Chosen, if you've not seen it, is a cheat sheet here, is a biodrama about the life of Jesus. It's the first one ever, which is a series. And it's been, the records are that it has been translated into more languages than the other TV series. And it's not that old, and it's growing. So over 600 languages, but it was the first crowd-funded project. And Dallas Jenkins and the whole foundation behind them are committed to making sure that is always going to be free. Now, he just announced that they just struck a deal with Amazon Prime. For the first 90 days, you can watch it early on Amazon Prime. That's not free, but he's staying true to this promise that after that, and Amazon supports it. I saw the Amazon executives do a Facebook show live thing, and it was phenomenal. It was so neat to hear their hearts behind this project, that from then on it's free around the world. So
I think Season 4 was like that too. I think Season 4 was like you could watch it if you pay up front. I mean, didn't they have it?
It used to be VidAngel when it first came out, I think, or I don't remember.
It was available on. I think it was available on Prime if you paid.
VOD,
yeah. And then it was also, because it was still Season 4, I think was also still available on Angel Studios app.
Angel probably.
Yeah, and then I can't remember. I might be thinking 3 versus 4. You know what I mean? Because I've been watching every season, so I get confused. But I remember like when I started watching it, Season 2 was in the middle of it. I binge watched Season 1. You know what I mean? And then Season 2, like I got through it, but then it was like, it was like, okay, well I want more. You know what I mean? And you have to wait.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And like Pastor Jim Franklin said in a post red carpet pitch that we posted on Facebook, can't wait to see the rest of the season, because now we're getting up to the really intense parts of the life of Christ. Right. So, we remembered the Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel, which the sequel's coming up soon. I saw that rolling out on social media recently. Probably next year, but that was so well done, and was such a blockbuster at the box office and globally. Incredibly good film. Now we're wanting to see Dallas Jenkins' take on this part of the life of Christ that is so important to the gospel. His death and resurrection are coming at us, Season 6 and 7.
Yeah, well, he's been really. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of artistic license, you know what I mean, involved. But it's been a really compelling story with I would say the heart of the message clear and undistorted.
Yeah. They're dedicated to stay true to the Scripture, with the story that is told in Scripture. But there is creative license what could have been. It's not what told about in Scripture.
Right.
Well,
and I mean, you have to expect that. I mean, and it's still, if you want to compare it to what came before it, it's still doing a great by measure, because Jesus of Nazareth had some spin outs. The greatest story ever told had some spin outs. I mean, they overlap stuff and reposition stuff to sink it into where they were doing. Right. So there's always some creative license, and what you have to realize is that's not the Bible you're watching. It's not the actual book. It's not the reference material. You're watching what comes from the reference material.
Yeah. Bible Plus.
Bible Plus. Yes.
And it's so good. Such good quality. And we're happy to promote that for Dallas. And of course, Dallas has. We had the red carpet premiere for his first feature film, Resurrection of Gavin Stone, which didn't do that well at the box office, and he told a story, you know, when he was here for the prayer breakfast, of how devastating that was. Would he ever make another film, you know? And now he's got all kinds of projects coming out. He just did the best Christmas pageant ever with Kingdom Story,
which I enjoyed a lot.
So he sent Kurt Waller, who plays Gaius in The Chosen, you know. He sent Elizabeth Tabish recently for best Christmas pageant ever, you know, and then she was here for
Between Borders.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's when she came. And before that, we had Jonathan Rumi here for Jesus Revolution, you know, in 23. So we've got an amazing track record of blessing in terms of filmmakers behind investing on their side to send talent here to Fresno. So now it behooves us to get behind and invest our entertainment dollars as using these, and that's their heart. That these films would be tools for outreach.
So I have, again, as somebody who's helping promote these videos and movies, I have found that it's not breaking through to everybody.
No,
you know,
not yet.
Like I'll have people come on here who are pastors, and I'll interview them, and then we'll talk off camera. I'll ask them, you know, if they've seen this movie, because we'll reference something about it, right. And they didn't even know it was there. Right. You know what I mean? So there's some kind of disconnect between, you know, and it's probably not from lack of effort. You know what I mean? It's kind of just because the messaging needs to be phrased or framed in a way to where the churches are aware that they need to send their people to these movies, right, for not just so that people can see the movies, but so that, you know, that the concept of the movies is supported heavily enough. You know what I mean? That it does not get disrupted and it becomes a regular norm.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is when you go to a movie. Normally, you're going to identify with one of the characters, you know, and that would be unique to you as a person. You know, that happened to me, or, you know, there's one great story of a person. There's lots of, we need to tell more stories of
right.
the impact of these films. But there was a Sony executive, you know, that screened Jesus Revolution. And he came back and he says, you know, whatever happened to that guy in the movie, I need to have it in my life. You know, we're not changing the name of this movie.
Right.
Where that was a big contention. Now you're going to have a full feature movie with the name Jesus in the title, you know, Jesus Revolution. So there's lots of stories like that we need to tell. I witnessed it firsthand with teams that came forward with the movie Woodlawn at Edwards, and then at Maya we had, you know, churches, Pastor Kevin Foster, Jim Franklin do buyouts, and had an amazing time watching the movie, worship, you know, response to the gospel, and it was amazing to watch, you know. So we need to hear more of those stories. So we'll tell some of those in the near future, Lord willing.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you're right. There is a disconnect, and you, as a ministry of pastors, two pastors, COVID beat us up. You know, beat the world up. Just closed doors, you know, all that fight, if you recall. And pastors have been hurting, and they're so consumed with doing church and taking care of their flocks. It's almost an annoyance sometimes to be hearing from the outside of our church walls, this is going on in the community. What's beautiful about Fresno is the camaraderie and fellowship among church and ministry leaders in this town. It's just so unique. Billy Graham spoke of that. Loved coming here. But everybody's doing good things in terms of outreach. So there's always a lot going on. And everybody supports everybody. But it feels a little more commercial when it's talking about a movie, and there's history of, I saw that was cheesy, that one, back when. So there's more pastors now. Kevin Foster's one of them. I'll just love the fact that they were able to do outreach with these films.
Yeah, well, we actually had Kevin Foster as a guest on.
Cool.
Yeah, we went to their thrift store and interviewed him right there on the couches.
Nice.
It was a nice interview. He's definitely got a heart to serve.
Yeah.
I would think that, like, I mean, obviously, you know, talking about Jesus and converting souls and that kind of stuff, and feeding the flock is important. But it seems like his biggest motivation is service. It's like his biggest push.
Here's another testimony for pastors and ministry leaders. Pastor Sean Beatty up at Clovis Hills,
who is I know really well, of course.
Invited Andrew Irwin to come, and we did a Q&A. They did a Q&A on the platform for church service in promoting Ordinary Angels.
Right.
So you got to hear the heart of these filmmakers. They're not in it for the business. I mean, they got to survive. They got to put bread on the table, but they're here to produce tools for us to use for outreach. Or encourage us. Challenge us to grow in our faith. So it's happening. The films that Kendricks make are for the church body to edify and build up the church body. And others make films that are totally for outreach. Others make films that look totally secular, but there's a real biblical precept or a thread of the gospel in it.
Yeah.
And they're all good because they all will minister to different people groups.
I agree with that fully. I think that we need a lot more of it. Mm-hmm. I think that having gospel-based entertainment is good, especially if we're doing it for the purpose of entertainment. You know what I mean? With the heart to hopefully some seeds get planted. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about how media is, media as a whole, it sets a precedent. It sets a mindset, right? So, like with enough noise, people get a concept or a concept of what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. So right now, a lot of media is real negative on Jesus. And it's overwhelmingly so. Mm-hmm. So there's not enough counter push for that at all. I mean, you go literally someone my age who's I'm not a young pup anymore, but I can go to a event, and if I let people know that I'm a Christian, or they know that I do a faith-based talk show or something like that, they're immediately throwing up walls and guards and like, hey, there's, you know what I mean? And sometimes they'll even come at me. So. And
it's sad because people, it's subjective in many ways because people have different tastes. We like different colors of carpet, or but they'll throw bricks.
Yeah. Well, and the enemy does. Enemy has infiltrated the church.
Yeah.
And has people out there who are in the name of Jesus are not doing things that Jesus is sponsoring.
Well, and you got to remember that in order to make a really good movie, you got to hire quality practitioners, skilled technicians, and they're not all believers.
Right.
So remember that on a movie set or in a production, meeting, there are a lot of non-believers that are part of the process because we're dedicated to making them quality, but that's a mission field.
Right.
I've had people, walk out, send me a scathing email or whatever because I supported this movie, and they didn't like how the costume was in the movie, or, but that's the world we live in. If you're going to go watch a girls volleyball team play high school, yeah, they got short shorts, Why throw blame at me because you saw that in a movie, faith-based movie, when that's the reality our kids live in? But don't throw bricks at it because you see an actor that was given the role that is not a believer, but he's a quality actor. So that's part of making a quality story come across that ministers to everybody, that gets in front of the screen. And there's lots of more stories that we need to tell about how, by the way, I Can Only Imagine did phenomenally well, a Kingdom Story movie about Bart Millard, Mercy Me. They're working on right now, filming the sequel, So the Reagan movie, how these movies have impacted actors that have been around for a long time. Kelsey Grammer in Jesus Revolution, I just read a quote from him yesterday, how Jesus is important in his life because of his experience, being a part of that movie. So, we have to give grace because we already give grace to a lot of the entertainment we watch on our TVs.
It's like we give plenty of grace to everybody but Jesus, and Jesus is the only one that gave us grace.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we're compromising.
Right.
You know, this is entertainment.
Right.
This is not, you know, a theology class.
Yeah, if it was, it would just be really boring.
Yeah, well.
Wouldn't it? I mean, theology class is very mind-numbing at times.
We need theology and sound doctrine for sure, right? From Scripture.
We need it.
But as long as a film doesn't, you know, violate that, you know, you should have some grace.
Well, yeah. I mean, we obviously we have to be discerning.
Yeah.
I mean, a film can go really, really crazy. Yeah. You know, I mean, I actually enjoyed the film, but I could reference Last Temptation of Christ. You know, that one went really on the creative license place and introduced stuff that kind of almost twisted the nature of Jesus. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I sent you a list of things coming up. I hope you'll slip those into your lineup. King of Kings, The Last Supper. But stay tuned. Yeah, we'll keep you posted with what's coming.
Definitely.
But thank you for being radical here.
And you know what? I am really grateful for the fact that you are pushing this ministry the way you are. I'm grateful for your friendship, obviously, as well. But you know, the what you're doing and the reach that you've developed. You know, you had to build this reach that you have locally. I mean, you know, it wasn't just automatically there. You know what I mean? It took some devotion to time, effort, and patience.
Well, the events take work, and we got a good team, small team, but it really just came at us because we saw this was something God was doing.
Right.
And if it's going to come to us in Fresno, thank you, Fresno, for your support of Faith Films, but we want to be an example to the rest of the country and the world how to use these great pieces of media, you know, for outreach tools. So we've got to focus on telling those stories. We'll do that. And another, in terms of prayer, I mean, came to us during COVID. As far as we know, we're still the only Christian ministry, new ministry for us. We're broadcasting Dr. Jim Ceci on digital shortwave radio out of Guam that goes around the world, primarily into Asia. And our engineers have gotten into transclonation is the term that we've coined, using Dr. Ceci's voice digitally. And now he's preaching in Mandarin, you know, out of Guam, going over the airways with the gospel. And it is just crazy, super exciting. And on digital radio, we can transmit the metadata, which means we can send scripture documents, manuscripts, you know, along and broadcast in 2 languages simultaneously. It is crazy, exciting technology that's brand new that we want to also share with the world.
Right.
Other ministries, teach them how to do that. But here we are, little Fresno, flying under the radar, and God's doing amazing things nationally in Faith Films here. I certainly want to have you pray for Dallas Jenkins and, you know, 5-2 Foundation and all the work they're doing with The Chosen and the other projects coming up. They're going to have The Chosen in an animated series. Chosen and
they're going to do Chosen as an animated series?
Yeah. So do your homework on that. Maybe I come back more prepared. This was very impromptu today.
Well, you know, that's it happens. Yeah.
But lots of exciting things coming up, and I just want to challenge everybody to choose to use your entertainment dollars to support messages with meaning, or movies and media with meaningful messages.
And get yourself in the seats, because you see the thing that a lot of people don't realize is the opening weekend is the measure, right? Is pretty much the measure. If the movie doesn't do great an opening weekend, it may not have other theaters available to it. It may, you know, have trouble going international. It may have, you know, it may not get the buy-in that it needs to go to the next level. Right. And you know, a lot of people don't market movies the same way they used to.
Yeah. So. And don't say, "I'll wait till it comes out on video on demand."
Yeah, not when it comes to these films. Not if you're trying to support the movement.
So there's a lot of great Homestead. There's a lot of great series coming out. I see Neil McDonough, who I worked with on The Shift, Brock Heasley from Fresno. They're filming a sequel right now. Has another one coming out, a cowboy movie. I just saw the trailer last night for the first time. I don't have the name on the top of my head, The Last Ride or something like that. But just intentionally go looking for stuff, Faith Films that are coming out. But a lot of them are going straight to streaming, you know, because they're acknowledging, like Amazon acknowledged, this is good products.
Right.
And we want to help move them forward with you. So I appreciate Amazon Prime for that.
Yeah.
They've got some really great leadership.
Streaming is one of those businesses that's still kind of it's still kind of a loss leader for a lot of the companies. They're struggling to pay for the multi-million-dollar movies that are coming through there through streaming, and it's not anything other than. A lot of people just are not investing their dollars that way, or and then here's the other part is that they're measuring what people are watching. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's if they're not watching the faith-based stuff on the streaming, then the streaming thinks, well, is this worth the investment? So.
But here's the fruit of the support. We got Lionsgate, we got Sony, we got the executives at Amazon Prime that say, hey, we want to help you guys.
Yeah.
And they're investing in faith. So that's huge.
Yes.
That's really huge.
And I hope that it continues that way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because there is a whole another level. See, I think the worst thing that we can do as a society is try to separate things. You know what I mean? Like right now you kind of have to, because you have to define things. You know what I mean? But if we can still define something and not keep it as a separation, right? Because you can say like action adventure movie, right? People aren't like, oh, well, I hate action adventure. It's like, oh, I don't want to do it because it's action adventure, right? When you say faith-based film, like, oh, well, you know what? They're still kind of, they don't think of it like it's just another movie. You know what I mean? They think of it like it's, like I'm going to go and get preached to, or something like that. So it sounds like a chore, to people who aren't making that connection. Right. So it's like if we can just get, that description, like, because you get multiple descriptions. You get like action, adventure, thriller, crime drama, comedy, all these things, right? But like faith-based films follow underneath all those things. So the only reason why we call them faith-based films is because they have a gospel message locked inside, and the people who are making these movies have the intention of reaching that message into people's hearts. So,
and again, one other piece of praise, Dennis Quaid, Kelsey Grammer, Dean Cain, who I've met and talked with on multiple occasions. They're using their fame platform, and this is happening in sports now. We've taken a shift now where athletes at college and pro level are standing up and being bold with their faith in Christ. And that comes in part because the church, the capital C, is getting behind faith films, and they're having more a valid place in society when it comes to media. So blessings on your media platform here, brother.
Yeah.
And
well, thanks for coming out and sitting with us and talking some media. And
you bet.
We're obviously out of time. We always talk over too long. But
well, you know how to edit.
Yeah, I do. But we have our saying. So you're definitely rad for Christ.
Amen.
You're definitely fired up for Jesus. And God bless you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Housekeeping time. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to take a quick moment to remind you that Radical Christianity is operating off of donations from people like you. If you have $5, $10, $15, $20, $25, $100, something like that God has told you that you can give to us, we could really use it. And it's a super simple process. All you got to do is go to our website, radforchrist.com, hit the donate link at the top, and that takes you to the Mr. E Christian Media donation page. Mr. E Christian Media is the 501c3 that we operate within, and that means your donation is tax deductible. So if you go and that link and go to the Mr. E Christian Media donation page, you can see a little drop down there. You can select Radical Christianity, and every penny that you donate will go to this show. It would be very, very huge blessing for us, but it's not a necessity. It's not an exchange thing here. We're not a transactional relationship. And if you don't have any money to donate, you can still help us out greatly. You can share the show with your friends on social media. You can email somebody. You can tell people about it. And even if that's too much for you, you can pray. You can sit there and just pray for our show, pray for our guests, pray that people who are watching the show find Jesus. And that would be a huge, huge help. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and now on with the show. Okay, so tell us your name and what you think about The Chosen so far.
My name is Francine McMillan, and I love The Chosen so far. I just finished binging it last night. Actually, this morning, right before church.
So this morning was your catch up?
Yeah.
Oh, you just caught up this morning, so
Yeah.
that's great. And you said that your favorite apostle was Matthew?
Is Matthew, yeah.
And you want to say why?
I feel that Matthew, because he was a tax collector, I think that he was kind of ostracized, or especially in the film, it kind of makes it seem that way. And also, I'm sure in the culture at that time he was. And I feel like I relate to that. Not that I'm ostracized, but just that, sometimes you feel like you're not in the in club. And I also, I read a lot. And so I think sometimes I have more comfort and solace in just reading a book on my own rather than being around people. And since giving my life to Christ, I realized that you have to, and that there's a delight in that. And so I feel like Matthew, was alone before, just, collecting money, and no one really liked him. His parents didn't even talk to him, and he had no friends. And then all of a sudden, Jesus was like, hey, follow me. And he follows them. And then now he has all these disciple friends, and his life changes. That's what God does. He just changes everything. So did, obviously Jesus changed your life. That's one of the reasons why you relate. How did you meet Jesus? Oh, wow. So my grandfather was a pastor of a small apostolic church in Madeira, and I kind of grew up in that. And then I left the Lord when I was 19, and I didn't go back for like 20 years. And on December 7th, 2021, I was what people would think was just absolutely normal, living a normal life. My husband and I had a good career. We were good parents. We were educated and smart and read a lot of books, but I was miserable inside. And on that day, I remember getting on my knees and I just said, I remember you. Like, I know what you can do. And if you could just help me out of this darkness, like, I won't leave again. And I've been serving God since then. So if you were to tell somebody the number one reason why to follow Jesus, make a relationship with Jesus, what would that be? Oh man, this is the best life. Like, it's the best life. Like, bad things will happen because this is life, right? Life's. But you have like somebody to lean on, and there's hope. I know the world doesn't give you hope, but Jesus, he gives hope, and he sees across the mountain, and you're in safe hands. I love it. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. George. So I'm a big fan of The Chosen.
Cool.
The John character is awesome.
Yes, thank you.
And I think that it's a high bar to hit, and you've like knocked it out of the park.
Oh, thank you so much. It's it's interesting because there's so many ways in which people know John, but I think the show's done a great job in really filling in those layers. I mean, he's anointed the Son of Thunder. We know that early on in his journey, but we know he becomes, the beloved disciple. So it's fascinating to be able to mark and etch that journey we always say, from thunder to love. So that's what I've been trying to do with the character.
So what did you do to prep for the character? It's obviously you started that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So what was the preparation?
Well, I was brought up Greek Orthodox, so my first phone call was to a Greek Orthodox priest that's been in the family for like 30 years. So he was telling me about why Jesus called James and John the brothers. He highlighted their vigor for life, the fact that they were thunderous and that they were very passionate. And Jesus thought, these guys are really, really intense, but if I can channel that intensity for righteousness, then they're going to be proponents of my ministry for years to come. And we know John ends up being the one that does it for the longest.
So I noticed you have an accent that doesn't, and you like totally dump that accent for another accent.
Yeah.
So was that something that you were able to nail right away, or was that a lot of prep work?
I tell you what, the Aussie accent is actually quite a weak accent, because how it came about was a whole bunch of different English people settling on a common dialect. So actually my accent's a lot easier to get rid of when I'm doing the accent that we do on The Chosen. So I think that as opposed to my American castmates, I think it's a bit easier for me to get into the whole...
you're saying it's an advantage?
It's an advantage for sure.
I hope Hugh Jackman agrees with you.
I hope Hugh is listening to this. I'm a big fan of Hugh, by the way. So yeah, he might agree with me. Yeah, it's a cool accent, but it's easy to get rid of.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Okay, so what would you say is the most impactful thing on that series that's affected you since you've been working on it?
Most impactful is the people. I think this whole production and everybody involved, from cast, crew, behind the camera, in front of the camera, has been like a big family. And it's funny where people have been asking me about like Dallas and stuff. I literally texted him this morning. So I don't think I've ever worked with a director that I just text on the fly like that. So we've all been on this journey, especially some of us who've been on the journey since day one, in season one, when we weren't even like a TV show. We were like a web series, so to speak. And now we're here doing premieres in Fresno and talking to Drew. It's come such a long way, and it's only gotten to that because we're such a big happy family.
All right, one last question. Have you made any really lasting, massive relationships with cast members?
Just with absolutely all of them, and people will say that on lots of TV shows, but it is absolutely true here. Reza and I are very close. I'm very close to my on-screen brother, James. I was just at Luke's place, who plays Judas. I was just crashing at his house like 4 days ago. I was playing board games with Noah 3 days ago. I was on the phone to Paris, who plays Matthew, yesterday.
That's really awesome to know that you're hanging out with the people that you're doing anything. So
I texted Liz the other day. So yeah, we are all so close. So yeah, absolutely lasting relationships for a lifetime, I imagine.
Well, awesome. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
And thank you for putting your all into this this awesome show.
Thank you so much. Our pleasure.
All right. So please tell us your name and what you thought of The Chosen.
I'm Scarlett, and I love The Chosen. I just feel like a connection with the Bible to the movie or the show, and I'm excited for this episode. I can't wait to see it.
Have you seen all the episodes up to date?
Yes.
Who's your favorite disciple?
John.
John? Why would that be?
I don't know. I just.
Is it because he's handsome and has an Australian accent?
Probably, yeah. Because he's handsome, but I can relate to him too. So I just, I don't know. He's so normal. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does,
yeah,
it does.
relatable. Yes.
All right, so are you okay with sharing people how you met Jesus?
Yes, I met Jesus years ago because he saved my life. He literally saved my life, and I decided to follow him for the rest of my life. So not only did he save my soul, but he saved my life physically. So I thank Jesus for everything. So thank you, Jesus.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Reza,
Hi, Drew.
how you doing?
How are you?
So, the Philip character is one of those characters that has been underportrayed in media thus far.
That's right.
And you have taken that character, made it your own, and really kind of, impressed me, and I'm sure millions of other people who've been watching the show.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
So, let me ask you this. What did you do to prep for the character?
Well, actually, part of it was actually co-created, so I didn't really create it alone because obviously there was a previous Philip. So that was a big, interesting journey because I had to almost use a lot of drama school craft that I learned to kind of blend my body morphology and idiosyncrasies of the character into this guy. But also, I think, as you mentioned, Philip is a little bit underrepresented in the actual text. So there was a lot of fishing for what is not said. And sort of one of the things that's interesting about this season especially is one of the most profound parts of what Philip speaks about, which is where is the Father when it's the Last Supper. That was a very interesting point to almost build the ladder backwards. Of course, we have more of him in the Acts stories and so on, which hopefully the story will go on. But it was an interesting point because Philip is a character who's kind of left home, run away to the wilderness to hang with John the Baptist, and then his physical rabbi and father figure gets executed last year, and he tries to lean with trust and hope and faith towards Jesus. And now this season, obviously with the Last Supper and everything, I mean, there's no spoilers in that. We know that he might be also leaving us. So there's a lot of undercover pain that I think is very human about Philip, that a lot of people experience, where they try to reach for courage and hope and faith, and also in the spirit of Philip with likeness and trying to bring the family together and always putting the other first, as he does a lot with the rest of the disciples, trying to always be the bearer of hope, but also he's internally struggling a lot. And I love the fact that he gets to represent that, because I think it's a relatable facet.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that that the Philip character has been kind of an anchor of the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, again, like you said, underrepresented in the text.
Yeah.
So what is it that you put into the character
that you were not told or the script didn't tell you? Like, what did you add that came from you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things is obviously like, it's like a handshake with the characters. So you try and find what is actually there in text, in the biblical text, and what is on the script, and then you try and connect it to aspects of your personal life. Without going too much into it, I've had experiences of someone very profound to me passing away that was almost like a very important mentor in my life. And so I know exactly what that's like from a point of view of, feeling a little bit lost at a human level when, John the Baptist passes, for example. But also trying to almost, let that voice pass on through you. And sort of embody that going forward. So that's something that's very, similar. In another sense, I think I'm one of the reflections of many people in the current world where, we have, difficulties with fatherhood and so on and so forth. So that's something that I really tried to bring forward because it was in the text, and it also makes sense because, it's very hard to find fathers who are, standing strong and guiding, and sometimes they may die, but then how do you embody it in your sense of masculinity as you go along and become that anchor that you speak about? So,
you know what? That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
I can tell that you have made this character your own. You've set a bar for everybody who comes after. You know what I mean? It's going to be a story. It's going to be told over and over and over.
Yeah.
So you have now set a bar.
It wasn't me. It's the family and the whole team, and obviously Dallas. The whole idea was incredible. So I'm
we're
just
at
blessed
time
to be here. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you very much for what you're doing, what you're putting into the role, and bless you, man.
Absolutely, and thank you everybody here. So take care.
So please tell us your name and what you think about The Chosen.
My name is Brittany, and I absolutely love The Chosen. It gives you a visual of what Jesus went through, and just for me, it aligned with the Bible and helped me put a visual to the Word. So it just made a great impact on my life, and it's honestly why I'm serving today.
You've watched all the episodes?
Yes, I have.
Who's your favorite disciple?
Honestly, it's Matthew. He's so relatable.
Okay. So now, you're talking about just in the movie or from the Bible also?
Honestly, from The Chosen.
Okay.
It made me want to look more into him in the Bible as well, just because he's so relatable in the show.
Okay. Yeah. Now, so let everybody know, how did you meet Jesus?
I met Jesus in heartbreak, to be honest. In heartbreak, and I started coming here to Cornerstone, and then someone told me about Chosen, and I started watching Chosen, and I was studying the Bible at the same time, and it really did help me get a visual and a better understanding of exactly how we've been set free.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Radical Christianity. We dive deep in some things sometimes, but I want you to really think about the stuff that we were talking about, and I want you to think about how important it is to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. If you don't have one and you're wondering how to make that happen, it's really, really, really simple. You don't have to work at it. You don't have to fight for the decision. It really is a free gift. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to make any super promises. It's a free gift. Jesus just wants you in his life. God sent Jesus here so he could have a relationship with you, so he could know you. And all you have to do is just agree to it. Just say, come into my life. Turn me into the person that you want me to be. There are things that the Spirit will work on you. There's repentance and all that kind of stuff. But that will happen. If you're diving in to the love of Jesus, you're going to want to change who you are. You're going to want to accept those designs that God has for you. So anyway, I encourage you to do that. And if you don't know how to do it, just really simple. Just say, yes, Jesus, I want to be yours. Super simple, right? You say that and you mean it, because in Romans 10:9 it says that if you declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So super simple, right? And I encourage you to make that choice. And if you did make that choice while watching this show, we would love to know about it. All you have to do is go to our website, radforchrist.com, Christ.com, and let us know. Fill out the Got Saved form, and I'll be able to send you a Bible and a little gift to show you how excited we are that you joined the family of God. Also on our website, there is Ask a Question form, which if you have a question about the show, our guests, our staff, the Bible, your math homework, we're happy to help you, figure out how the answers there. Also, we have a prayer request form. So if you have something that you need prayer for, please let us know so that we can, we can basically pray for those things for you. Anyway, I want you to understand that we are here to serve. And this is the most important part of all, and that is Jesus Christ loves you. And so do I. Thank you for watching Radical Christianity. We will see you next week.
And I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.